All right, everyone, you are back listening to Hour 2, and we are back providing Hour 2 of the Handy at the Shandy podcast. I'm Boring Jack. Also back is Adam the Fraud and Table Games James. And in Hour 2, as we often do, we are going to churn through some listener questions and feedback. And boy, would we like to extend our hand. We would like to extend a heartfelt thank you.
Heartfelt handy.
We would like to extend a heartfelt handy to everyone that wrote in with questions or feedback this week, because we got a ton of it and we love it and we're here for it and it makes our jobs easier. And it's stuff that we wouldn't have otherwise necessarily talked about. So keep it coming. As you know, 23 is not divisible by 3.
Sure isn't.
Which means I'm in charge and James isn't.
Now, Jack, can you tell the people how they can send us some questions and give us some feedback?
Well, I think the best way to do it is email james@tyrannyeducation.edu and then he'll forward it to me.
All right. I'm not an official college here.
You should email handyattheshandy@gmail.com or find one of these two fine gentlemen on Twitter where they will also field your questions. But
I love that no one trusts me to field questions because I never get any questions in my inbox for it. That ship has sailed, so it's great. I keep them coming, but clearly not to me.
Send them on Twitter to james_tyranny.edu or to our handy email. But yeah, we can maybe alternate as we go through these, so it's not just me reading everything. But I am going to start.
All right.
Because 23 means me. And we're going to start with John B., who says, how much should I expect to pay if a, quote, big player friend invites me to dinner?
Oh, how timely, Jack.
Yeah, I thought this was very fitting. He says his personal take from his limited experience as a big player is if he knows the meal would be comped, he's more than happy to cover the meal when the guests just cover the tip or most of it. He says he thinks it changes, though, if he's unsure if the meal will be comped and or if he's doing something with cash value, like comp dollars to pay for the dinner. That's different than the meal being comped. And I thought that was a good point. And I kind of went through this in hour 1 where I said, yeah, I'm perfectly happy to take my big player friends' comps if it's comps they already have on their offer and weren't going to be exhausting or using anyways, right? Mm-hmm. But obviously it's kind of up to the discretion of your friend what they're looking to do and how much they're really looking to treat you. I think the offering to pay the tip is a great middle ground because then in some sense everyone gets something. It's a win-win because they get the dinner for cheaper than they would have otherwise gotten it because they would have had to cover the tip.
Yeah, I don't expect anything, unlike you, Jack, going to dinner with friends who maybe gamble more than me. But yeah, I think knowing ahead of time too is kind of the key here as well. Like, am I paying? Am I not? What's going on? So like prior to eating a carbone or whatever, Duffy and I had said, oh yeah, we'll pay for it so that you guys knew that.
I didn't know that. I was all ready to flip for it.
No, that was agreed upon.
Well, I was probably drunk and not paying attention.
And then you did a double up, like a double or nothing with Jaron over who's going to pay the tip.
I coerced Jaron into playing the double up feature, unbeknownst to him.
If I invite people to come to dinner with me, like kind of on my birthday trip where I knew people usually didn't want to spend as much money on dinner, but I was like, I want to go to this nicer place, I'm way more up for putting more money in myself, or like, I'll cover the tip and the comps, or hey, I've got this money on my card, because I'll be like, I feel bad if friend X, Y, or Z only usually or wants to only spend like $50 to $75 on a dinner, and it's like a $200 dinner. I'll be, even if I'm not the bigger player, let's say at the table, I'll still for some reason feel really bad. I'll think it's like my fault that this person's going out for this nice dinner, even though it's probably not. Like, people can make their own decisions, but then I'll cover stuff. I don't think I ever have an expectation, although I will say that if I go to a nicer dinner with someone who I know could either A, probably get it comped, or B, has a ton of player points, or C, is winning a good amount during that trip, and they don't offer to be like, hey, don't worry, I cover this, you can just get the tip, I'm not really angry, but there's a part of me who's like... You're trying to co-opt
their gambling winnings for your dinner.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, geez.
Not like a huge... I'm not going to be like, oh, give me $500 for this dinner. But like, $100,
$400,
$150, $400, sure, yeah. No. And again, I don't think I'm expecting it, but like there's a little part of me, it's like, you're up 15 grand. You couldn't buy my $100 dinner. Damn it.
I do agree with James's sentiment that if it's like your dumbass idea, putting yourself on the hook as the good guy for paying for it makes more sense. Like when I dragged everyone to go get frozen Baileys at O'Shea's as part of that like slot golf outing, I was just like, no, I'll just take care of it. You know, whoever wanted frozen Baileys, it was on me. Because it was like, I'm the guy that dragged you to the place with the overpriced Frosties from Wendy's, right? So like, anyways.
So the dumber the idea, the more likely it is that you have to pay for it.
The less likely the people would have done that had you not suggested it. Then the more you might be on the hook for it.
That's a good equation.
So keep that in mind, John. Whose idea was this dinner?
It's like, hey, let's go on the high roller. Okay, well, you're paying for it if you were going to the high roller.
Yeah, I mean, I hung out with John once, and I don't know who it was decided, but one of us decided to go to Circus and play craps there. So one of us should have covered the buy-in for the other person, I think, because that was a pretty dumb idea.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I had fun with John. So at Travis Bender asks, can you explain the differences in some of the more popular versions of video poker? For example, what is the difference between bonus poker and double bonus poker? When I sit down to play, what should I be looking for? Well, it's very clear that the difference between bonus poker and double bonus poker is that double bonus poker is double.
Yeah.
Is that right?
No, yeah, that should be pretty obvious. Continue.
And I think that's it. No, I mean, you've got some versions are just wildly different, right? Some have wild, some don't. Then you've got like, the bonus poker variants and such. I mean, for me, when I was just starting out, it was just like looking at the pay tables, and it was kind of a good gauge of like, all right, what am I kind of going for? Which kind of leads you into understanding what maybe you should and shouldn't be holding, kind of what you're shooting for. So like with the bonus poker variants, like, okay, like I'm shooting or I'm leaning into 4 of a kind. That's obviously what I want. But Jack, you can kind of explain it a little bit better than that, or more nuanced, I should say.
Yeah, I think the first thing to notice is that there's kind of 2 different schools of a way a video poker game can change. When we talk about like, what's your favorite video poker game? You might say like, what do you mean, what's my favorite game? Do you mean like jacks are better versus bonus poker? Or do you mean like super times pay versus ultimate X? Because a lot of the way we talk about like types of video poker games, we're actually talking about like the extra gimmicks built on top of the game, or even things like, oh, I like playing 5-line. It's like, well, that's kind of a different category of what type of game do you like than the question, do you prefer bonus poker or double bonus or double bonus or that kind of stuff. So I think that's one thing that's worth noting. In that first category where you talk about jacks are better or bonus deluxe or all these, double bonus, we think is maybe the most popular of all. The main difference you're looking at there is what hands are available to hit on the top end and how much do they pay. And so it's generally hands that are 4 of a kind or higher. You're looking at what certain different types of 4 of a kinds exist in this game and how much do they pay. And so the main difference between jacks are better and bonus poker is bonus poker adds in 2 different categories of 4 of a kinds you can hit. In jacks are better, the hand is just called 4 of a kind and it pays 125 credits, and that's that. Whereas in bonus poker, unless you're at one of these weird Caesar's bar tops, in bonus poker, it adds 2 whole new categories, which are 4 of a kind 2s, 3s, and 4s, so 4 of a kind low cards, and 4 of a kind aces. And those will pay an elevated amount compared to that 125 that you would get for the remaining 4 of a kinds, which it now calls 4 5s through kings. And so like you would know that you're looking at bonus poker versus jacks or better potentially just by seeing if those hands are available. Are all 4 of a kinds the same? Or is there a bonus for hitting a certain 4 of a kinds? That kind of stuff. And then it just kind of goes up from there. Once you get to like double bonus, it's like, well, no, now there's a difference between hitting 4 aces and a queen versus 4 aces with another low card with it or stuff like that. So they further stratify the 4 of a kinds into these different paying hands.
And there's always a trade-off then, right? It's like if they're paying extra on certain 4 of a kinds, there's going to be a trade-off somewhere. They're going to be pulling it from somewhere else in the pay table, right?
Yeah, and the trade-off there is almost always that the 2 pair no longer gives you double money. So that's the big jump ups from like bonus poker and jacks are better, jumping up to those games where the 4 of a kinds pay wildly more. You generally lose it on the 2 pair. But then otherwise, they're just modulating kind of like the full houses and flushes, almost the same way they'd modulate a pay table to change the return to player. they might also just have to like, to pay for the extra aces category on bonus poker, we had to dock a little from the full house that you would normally get on jacks or better, or stuff like that. It would be a kind of a way. You're always going to be robbing Peter to pay Paul when you look at these pay tables. You don't get anything for free.
But God, Paul is so much fun when you hit him.
So much fun. And when Jack was talking earlier about 125 for 4 of a kind or 400 for aces, that's playing 5 credits. As usually we're going to talk a lot about playing the max bet on these machines.
Yeah, the main reason that we always pay the max bet at video poker is because generally all the pays scale linearly with the amount of coins that you're betting. If you're betting 3 coins, it'll pay 3 times as much as you're betting 1 coin. But the only place that breaks is on the royal flush at 5 coins per bet. Generally, the royal flush will pay 250 times your stake. But if you're playing max coins, it'll pay 800 times your stake, which is 4,000 on a 5 coin bet. So if you want to get the really big royal flushes, you have to pay max credits. And so it's just default behavior for most video poker players to always play max bet at the denomination they're comfortable with.
Yeah. And when you're asking about what to be looking for, I think we've said this a couple of times in the past. If you're new to video poker, I would try and find bonus poker because it's going to most likely be the best at that machine. And it gives you that little bit of, rooting for the 4 aces to get you a little more.
I do get kind of bummed playing jacks or better. Like I mentioned in hour 1, I played a fair bit of jacks or better this last trip. That 4 aces, like holding 3 aces is no different than holding 3 5s. Like they're functionally identical. And so it's just, it loses a little there. So I agree with James on that for sure.
Yeah, popular advice is to start with jacks or better. Just kind of get your bearings, understand the flow of it, how it works. You get a understanding of the pay table. But yeah, it can, especially for people that play Ultimate X and are playing multiple lines, playing bonus or double bonus, it can seem boring by comparison.
Have either of you ever gotten into deuces or joker poker or anything, any of those types of versions?
No, it's too much for me. Like the strategy differences are too different. And so and I also think the pays are too different. Like, yeah, sure, it sucks to hit a $400 aces when it could have been an $800 aces at a different game. But like in deuces, 4 of a kind comes up all the time. It pays as much as a straight does on other games, right? And so like if you get like a natural 4 of a kind on a deuces where you get 4 kings and a 3, that still just pays you the 20 credits as if you had gotten with 1 king and 3 deuces, or it had used a bunch of wilds to get it. So I just don't have it in me to like have certain hands pay really well on one game and then play poorly on another game.
All right. Thank you, Travis.
You said it almost like menacingly. Thanks, Travis.
Travis.
If that is your real name.
That is a good question, though. There's a lot of people who are like clearly still getting into video poker, and since I just like beeline to like what we're going to talk about it to my particular game, I forget about all the variations out there and how confusing it must be if you haven't played it much.
But just go try it. Like the worst that can happen is you lose the $20 you put in while doing something that you don't understand, and it's like, well, that's a slot machine. So this is still better than that.
Next, we got from @JohnnyBidet. What denomination of video poker do you usually play as a baseline, and what is your favorite type? So this ties in to Travis' question a little bit. I fluctuate between $3-line dollars, so that's $15 a press. I'm usually playing whatever the best game is that's available for return to player, and lately that's 9-6 double, which means there's a lot of variance, but 4 aces with a kicker's a hand pay of 2,000, and that's like when you get dealt 3 aces, like that's a lot of adrenaline going through, which is great. Or I'll play quarters Ultimate X. I'd rather play bonus poker at Ultimate X than double, but my local casino that just opened up only has double. So those are the 2 that I've been playing.
Yeah, I'm very similar. So Ultimate X, quarter, I'll do bonus poker, and then occasionally I'll do single line. I've been more doing dollar single line lately, bonus poker, double bonus poker. I used to be just a quarter single line player for a long time, but it's one of those, or once you start playing Ultimate X, it's really tough to go back down. But also, it's like where my bankroll is now, that's where I'm comfortable at. And it's where I think I'm getting rewarded well with reasonable offers. And so while I think I could play anything in terms of like denomination, I'd be fine playing, single line nickel. But where my bankroll's at and what like I said, the offers I'm getting, I wouldn't get anything out of it. So that's my decision there.
Yeah, quarters is still usually the game I'll play. Obviously, at Ultimate X, with the average multiplier being about a 2x on average, it's a little bit more like I'm playing 50 cents, right? Because I'm betting the amount that you would have to bet 50-cent 3-line. So I don't know. I've been experimenting with more dollars lately on the really low variance games, and then the higher variance the game is, the more that I'd want to bet a lower denom, because you can still get those just like massive outsized wins, even if you're betting lower.
I'll say, because I have not hit a royal flush yet at my age, I can't go to anything below quarter single line anyway. Like, I'm not going to hit it on a nickel machine. Like, I just can't. I can't do that. That would be embarrassing. It would be disappointing. So I have to play at a higher denom now until I hit it, and then who knows? I'll find a penny machine somewhere and I'll play that.
100 line pennies.
100 line, 1,000
It's
line
like
pennies.
1,000.
There's some weird curse on you where all you have to do is like kiss a toad and then hit a royal flush, and the curse will be lifted, and you can turn magically back into the low roller Vegas cheapskate that you thought you were.
I know. I can't wait.
Next up, we got a question from Low and Slow, and he says, okay, it's been established that Jack is boring and either does a 3-point molly or an infinite molly when he plays craps. But how do you, referring to James, how do you and Admiral Fraud play? Across? Hardways? Do you call him Adam the Frog because of all his hot bets?
Ooh.
Now, there's a couple of inside jokes there that people might have found on Twitter. The first one, was it Mark Duvall who said that AI closed captioning was calling you Admiral Fraud?
Which I like.
I like that. And then my niece, who's 3 years old, I don't know why, but my father was listening to our podcast and she was there. And she was like, why are they calling Adam a frog? And I thought that was hilarious. When I play craps, lately, I like to play come bets, but I also like to place numbers. And because I don't want to just go off of a feeling like Jack does when he's doing the double up feature, I have a very particular system. That does not mean that I'm going to win money at it. But if it is an odd number on the initial come out roll, so if it's a point of 5 or 9, then I'll play come bets. If it's an even number, then I'll place the even numbers. I'll usually do $50 or whatever is going to be around $50 for odds, meaning that if it's a $10 table, I'll probably doing max odds. But if it's a 15 or higher table, a lot of times I actually won't be taking the maximum odds. That's where I've been playing lately. That feels comfortable with my bankroll. I've been toying with the idea of when there's lower table minimums, like if it's a $5 or a $10, maybe I'll just play across just to get like some more action, knowing that I'm probably still going to lose/win the same amount, but I'll get a little more action. But I just don't know if I could put $6 on a 6 and then a 6 hit and I get $7 in front of me. And I don't know if I would feel anything with that.
Yeah, I'll do.
How about you, Admiral?
I'll do, typically, I'm doing the bonus every time if there is a good bonus, which I think that's really what does me in. Otherwise, I would be pretty boring, but I am doing the bonus every time. Playing the 6 and 8, if the 6 and 8 is a point, then I'm moving it to somewhere else. A come bet with odds, and of course, I'm taking odds on the pass line as well. And then usually if the point is represented as a hard way, I'll be playing that as well. And that's kind of my style. Typically 1 come bet, sometimes 2. But also, like, if someone at the table's doing something kind of funky, I tend to piggyback off that as well, because I just think that is fun to try a new style. And you're kind of winning with the table, so to speak. So that does happen occasionally as well. But yeah,
you never met a bet you didn't like. It sounds
exactly.
Like. Yeah.
Except for hot bets.
The Adam the Frog hot bet joke. I thought that was great. Actually,
it's good.
So,
yeah.
Thank you for the question, Low and Slow.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my turn. At 360 Vegas J Dubs asks, which hot new Vegas podcast premiere are you most looking forward to?
This sounds like this might be a what are we plugging?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what are we plugging? Well, we are plugging 360 Vegas J Dubs, along with Karen and Tony, are going to be getting back into the podcast game.
Nice.
Love it.
The Neon Lounge podcast, which I believe the first episode is going to be dropping the day before you're hearing this, because I believe it's going to be dropping on Sunday and we will be dropping ours on Monday like we usually do. So when you're hearing this, some of you probably have already listened to it, but you can go and check that out. When J-Dubs tweeted this to me and said, which hot new Vegas podcast premiere are you most looking forward to? I replied with, man, I can't wait for the Better Life to come back.
The triple-double Better Life at that point.
Speaking of, when I did that, the Better Life jumped in and asked, here's a question. What content is missing from the Vegas/gambling podcast community? With so many shows coming and going, what void has been left or niche available to fill?
So I thought this was a good question because before I had a podcast, I was talking with Adam about this. Like, hey, if I was going to do a podcast, what area do I think I could slip in and do that doesn't try to take something someone else is doing and try to do it like better or differently? Mm-hmm. And the thing I kind of came up with was, and spoiler alert, it's not what this show is like at all, but it will explain kind of the way some of the stuff works, is that I said I would want to do like a trip report based show where you get people that can give trip reports and you do like maybe a short preview show and then you do a longer post-trip show, but you try to weave them. And my idea was you could try to weave them. So you do like preview of trip A, then you do a report with someone on trip B, and then you do like a preview of trip C, and then you hear about how trip A went. And then you're going back and forth between, you're not immediately hearing about the thing you just got previewed or something like that. Obviously we don't do anything like that, but part of the reason we dedicate entire hours to long-winded trip reports is before I got into content creation, that was the type of podcast I wanted to listen to. Mm-hmm. Like, I just want to hear people talk about what they're doing in Vegas. And so I hope that we can provide that.
Well, the low roller niche is available still. People can jump into that. But I'm really interested to hear from actual people working in the industry, but not top-level people, certainly not influencers. I think On the Corner of Maine kind of has that covered a little bit where they're talking people about town, but a lot of, some executives and, people in kind of higher
very rarely
roles.
Do they get a rank and file sort of person.
So that's actually what I'm looking for, right? Like, I want a cocktail waitress. I want a server at a steakhouse. I want a slot attendant to let me know if I'm not tipping them enough. I would, all of those people who have, there's people that have been dealing on Strip for 30 years, 40 years. I want to hear from them, like some of the things that they've seen, because those are some of the most interesting stories that you're going to get. No offense to the people that are sitting in an office and making important decisions. Great, good on you. But, people out there, I'm sure have some really interesting tales to tell. And I just haven't found a Vegas podcast that's doing it. It'd be a lot of work, right? You're going to have to live in town. It's going to have to be a local to do that. But that's something that would actually get me to listen to a podcast.
Did you ever listen to the Two Casino Morons ever?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I liked those guys a lot. I don't think their podcast was very good, but for the same reasons that they would probably have thought it wasn't very good, right? Like, I don't think I'm insulting them. I listened to all their episodes. I liked them quite a bit, but it was mostly just some guys that worked as craps pit bosses talking about their job. And it wasn't really anything more than that. But that goes to show that there is a market for like 60 episodes of two morons talking about casinos and stuff. If they could do it and I could enjoy that, surely what Adam's saying would be great.
Yeah, along the lines of that, I would love to hear more like the slot manufacturers or, listening to people who are coming up with new table games or Any of that type of stuff would be really fun to listen to. I don't necessarily need secrets when it comes to it, but things like, hey, did you know when X, Y, or Z happens that like this is what we're doing? Or here's the ways that we've tweaked some things. I think that would be a fun listen, but I don't know if you'd make a whole podcast on that, but it'd be a cool couple of episodes.
We need to get the guy that came up with the suffix "and more" for slot machines on the podcast, like Huff and More Puff, Piggy and More Bankin', Pop and Pays More, whatever. Like, we need to pick his brain.
Well, I was going to say the Huff and Puff, like what iteration of Huff and Puff are we on now? What can we expect from Huff and Puff in the future? There's so many. That would be a whole
hot new Huff and Puff premiere are you most looking forward to?
Right, exactly.
Thanks, Tim, for the question. And I promise one of these days I'll answer the phone when you call.
Two-Way Hard 8 writes, what is most important when choosing where to play video poker? Atmosphere, pay tables, comped drink quality, bartender quality, game type, status, or comps earned? I think I could start by saying, for me, status and comps earned is by far the one I'm least interested in, because I went over to Resorts World where I get fuck all from them, and you can't even drop in and get free play anymore. And I still
the three of us just got a great mailer.
Great
I got
offer.
the same one as you. What was it? We got a complimentary room.
James said, it said in big bold print, come stay with us in May. Your room offer for a stay at Resorts World Hilton in May for the dates. And then the date said May 25, 26. That was it.
The only 2 days the entire month.
Mine said through. I got the same one.
25th through the 26th.
Yeah.
No, so I get nothing from them, and yet it's still one of my favorite places to play. I think mostly because of bartender quality, which then goes into comp drink quality. But I think I'd rather get an okay drink from a great bartender than get a great drink from a bartender I don't like. So the bartenders being personable is almost more important than them making great drinks.
For me, I think it's kind of a chicken and egg thing, where it's not that the most important thing when choosing where to play video poker are these things. It's that the status or comps that I'm getting, I then am gravitating towards that video poker there because I want to play more where I'm staying. Like the only reason why I would ever walk over to play at Resorts World is just because Jack wants to go there and I'm a person who wants to hang out with Jack. So, if I'm getting a comp stay at an MGM property, it's going to probably be at Cosmo and I'm going to play at Chandelier Bar. And if I'm staying at Venetian Palazzo, I'm going to play at Bar Luca or in their high limit space. So I don't know if I care necessarily about the other things here besides, this is where I'm playing, this is where I'm going to go. Now, if there's like 4 different possibilities, like different areas to play, for example, at Venetian Palazzo, you could play over at that center bar at Venetian, but I'm going to pick Bar Luca over that every time, probably because of vibes. I believe there's slightly better game choice there too with the 3 lines, 9-6 double. But at that point, I think it's going to come down to atmosphere if I have a couple of options.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely atmosphere for me, which is why I think none of us tend to play on the floor really anymore. I will in a blue moon, but yeah, just atmosphere is what it is. Does it have a good vibe? People around, I just kind of, and part of it's kind of things that we've talked about in the show before, where like I like enjoying when people around me are winning. So if I'm just on the floor by myself at a bank, it's like, just kind of boring. I could do this at my local, but my local, like at their bar tops, don't have the same vibe as like the Chandelier Bar does, or even like the bar at Park or something like that. So it's vibes all the way. And then like, man, is there a damn seat anywhere that I can get? That's been the challenge lately, but good for Vegas. That's a problem sometimes.
I'm picturing these categories that Two-Way Hard 8 laid out, kind of like as the sliders on like a spider chart in like Madden, where you're like agility, strength, size, weight, and like you're just like, give me the guy that just maxes out all of them. I want like a 400-pound dude that runs like a 4.2 40, and we're just going to give him the ball. But no, I feel like they're also important that like it has to be a large combination of all of these being like at least above average or, to make it work.
But good question, though. At Joe Cortez asks, and I like Joe. He's a points and miles guy. El Cortez, okay, Joe Cortez goes to El Cortez, just so we're all keeping up. El Cortez used to call itself the best double-deck blackjack game in Vegas, but with only one $15 table open at a time and continuous shuffle machines on 6-deck tables, that claim has come to an end. With everything else down there 6-5, will competitive gambling come back to Fremont anytime soon?
I think we've talked about this in the sense that I think it will come back because I think it is so sorely lacking in a lot of cases. Like, I think we're currently at a pendulum swinging one way where some of the places that had better odds have started to remove them, like downtown Grand and stuff like that. But someone's going to have to make a splash and bring back better gambling. And yeah, I think it's just a matter of time.
I think you're right. I think you're starting to see it trickle in a little bit with certain things where Vegas is realizing like, oh, have we lost the plot a little bit? You're starting to see like these all-inclusive deals and stuff, and that's not going far enough, in my opinion. But I think that you're starting to see that they need to make some tweaks here or there. It's funny that they're not just going back to saying, oh, we're going to offer a good gambling again, right? The core business. We're not going to touch that. But like, here's a drink deal for you or something like that. But yeah, I do think that it will get better. I think it's going to take some time, but I think they have to do something down there because we've talked before that for too long now, there hasn't been much of a difference between Fremont and the Strip gambling wise, and it's just not enough of a draw for certain players to go down there. So I think they will, and I'm hoping they will. Dramatically, no, but I think it'll inch in the right direction.
I just wonder if they care. Right. Like maybe they'll move some of their higher end games, like, making sure that there's 3-2 on, $25 plus. But do they care about the $5, $10 player? Is that ever going to really move a needle for them? I mean, I'm sure they've run the numbers and they're saying, hey, we can offer these drink deals or something that's going to cost us a heck of a lot less than moving these, few percentage points up on these table games. Because you would think that they already would have, right? You would think that they would have reacted. So it might get a little better, especially if the economy moves south a little and they're going to try and grab some more players. I just think, unfortunately, right now, that $5, $10 player is just not even on their radar.
Well, yeah, and I don't think when I say I don't think they're going to bring back $5 tables everywhere, but I just think at a price point, whether it's $15, $25, they have to be offering the best games they can. It has to be better than the Strip. But with also so many things happening on the Strip now, Sphere, stadiums, those kinds of things, like the draw to stay downtown, just from a convenience standpoint, it's getting tougher and tougher for me to justify wanting to stay downtown because there's so much to do on the Strip. And like I said, competitively, gambling has been, I don't want to say identical, but fairly close. So I feel like they've got to make some sort of move. And beyond getting a Sphere Point 2.0 in downtown, they've got to do something. And I think that's the easiest place to make that adjustment.
To your point, we're also less likely. Not only are we less likely to stay downtown than we might have previously been, but we're also less likely to go downtown on our Strip trips than we used to. At least Adam and I, who both used to frequent downtown more. So, yeah. But I do think they have the Sphere 1.0, which was the canopy. That's right. kind of like a reverse concave sphere.
Jeff the Mailman said, I had a Twitter discussion with Vital Vegas. He was saying the difference in 000 roulette and 00 isn't a big deal. Just play it. It's supposed to be fun, not a retirement plan. I agree it should be fun, but there comes a time where you feel like the casino is being greedy. Thoughts? ? Oh, I don't play roulette at all, or very rarely.
Good answer, James.
No.
Good answer.
I do feel like, I think this is a case where people reacted to it and then the casinos kind of clawed back relatively quickly. Obviously, you could still find some 000 roulette out there, but at least at the higher end places, like Wynn was like, oops, probably shouldn't have done that. And we're seeing it, kind of go away in other places. I guess I agree that it is supposed to be fun, but you can have fun and try and get the best odds.
Right. Gambling is fun because you win. And so if the game is designed so that you win less, it's a worse game. Like, I think that's a pretty easy argument. And so a lot of people are like, oh, like, I don't see that big of a difference between this. It's like, well, yeah, that's because you hate money. It's like you're losing twice as much. And if you like losing twice as much, then go play it. And if you don't, play something else, right? Like, I mean, I think I agree with both sides of the argument. I agree that if it's fun for you to play a bad game, then just go play a bad game and have fun. But that's like kind of the point about learning more about anything you do. Like when you get more into a hobby and stuff, you start to learn about it. You start to figure out like minutia that you didn't understand before. And you start to realize like, oh, I could actually be saving money. I could be winning more and losing less and stuff like that just by making these small changes to my behaviors. And then I will have more fun. And so part of the fun is the game within the game, finding the good game to play or finding the better experiences and stuff like that. And it's not always about the odds. Sometimes you find the game where the odds are the same, but you're having a better experience, right? Mm-hmm. So just like trying to maximize all the little things about the way you do Vegas, that's like what we're here for. And so for any time someone says, do you have a restaurant recommendation? And I said, it's a restaurant, not a retirement plan. Just go to whichever one you want. That's not a restaurant recommendation, right? And so like there's kind of two ways. You kind of have to look at things both ways.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be hypocritical for me to say never play 000 roulette, but then also 10 minutes ago say that I always play the bonus bets on craps, which are exceedingly worse than 000 roulette. But I wonder though, because I think roulette is typically a game where people who are new to gambling roulette's kind of the entry point. It's the gateway game. And adding another zero is such an obvious change to make it worse that I wonder if that was kind of the catalyst for so many people to notice and for it to be make a big stink about it, which I think the stink is worth it in this case. 6-5 blackjack being kind of another one where you're making a very obvious change. Whereas like on other games, rule changes may be a bit more subtle to make it worse. But roulette it's a pretty easy game to understand, and this is a very obvious rule change not in favor of the player, and so there's a big backlash. Plus, it already had a high house edge anyway, the 000 roulette too. So I don't know really where I was going with that, but like I said, I'm with you. Like I think having fun, the game choice be damned, but it's also just good for people to know. And I think the more people make us think about things like this, the more people who are new to the casino experience are going to understand the impact as well. But yeah, if you understand the impact and still want to play it, then do whatever you want. I don't really care.
Yeah, and I think people sometimes just don't understand that it costs more to play the 000 roulette game if the base bet is the same, right? Like it's the same sort of thing where you're like, well, if we were just trying to go to the Knights game and we're like, well, these seats are $220 and these seats are 160, that's a pretty big difference. And it'd be worth discussing whether it's worth paying that to get the thing. But people don't think about gambling that way because it's not as directly tied the amount you're paying to what game they're offering, right? And so you view it as stodgy to like want to discuss, should we play at this table or that table because of the odds? But it wouldn't be viewed as that if you were just like, which section should we sit in, right? But it's the same sort of thing. It's like slightly different entertainment at a slightly different price, and it's worth talking about, right? Next up, we've got Terry D. And he says, I'd love to have the crew weigh in on this topic. My wife was actually the first to the comps game about 8 years ago, so we have always just played slots together on her MGM Rewards card. We can currently get 4 nights comped with 150 free play and 150 F&B for almost every calendar date at Cosmo Aria Vidara. So that sounds pretty good already.
Pretty good, yeah.
But he says, now that he is taking about 4 times the bankroll to Vegas for gambling than he used to, would it benefit him to use a current offer, but then get himself a new MGM Rewards card and start playing fresh and playing at a higher level? Or is the history of his wife's card something that shouldn't be dismissed? He says we make 1 to 2 Vegas trips a year. He says, my only reasons for switching to my card would be the prospect of better offers for me as a new customer and the idea that I could book and use the comp offers for a boys' trip when she's not there. I think this is a great question.
I would say, yes, it is worth it. Because he asked the question of the history of the wife's card, something that shouldn't be dismissed. And it might be that they have that long history. So if you were to bump up, and play bigger on her card, they might not value that as much because they'll want to see some sustained higher play before they actually bump her offers up more, because they might just be like, oh, they, maybe got lucky at a different casino and now they're just betting more here for this one time. Whereas if you come in as a brand new player, never having a card before, and put in that good play, I think you would see a much bigger offer come through, even at the exact same level, using a brand new card than on your wife's card.
I agree for sure. I think I would also say you should both play on your own separate cards and try to combine offers where appropriate. Like you can book if you're there for 4 nights, you can book a 2-night stay on your offer and then book a 2-night stay on her offer. And then at the front desk, get them to combine the room part of the reservation, but you're each there on your own separate casino offer. And then just play on your own cards. And only if her offers start to really dry up now that you're no longer playing on her card, then would you need to worry about something like this. But I think as it stands, having 2 people with 2 cards for a mid-roller is just almost always going to be better from my perspective.
Yeah, it feels like the gain is going to outweigh any loss in potential comps on her card at the moment, especially. And now you throw in a boys trip where you're going to be going without her. I think that's important too. But I think we're also skirting around the issue of, Terry, what if she just starts to not like you anymore? And now you have no comps if this relationship goes sour. God forbid, because it's obviously a very loving relationship. You have hobbies in common, and that's great. But listen, man, take care of yourself. You gotta.
What Adam is saying is you need a player's card and a prenup.
Exactly. Well, the prenup ship might have sailed already, but you need a plan. You need assets in your name just in case. Not that I'm going through this or anything, but my wife has no offers. So if she ever wanted to go to Vegas, she is SOL without me. So, but anyway, yeah, Terry, I think I agree with both of them. I think, get your own card and combine offers if you can, which is a pretty common thing to do.
Yeah, Kim and I play completely separately all the time, and she's going to Vegas next week, but right before I go, because that's how good married couples do Vegas, is they just go separately days apart.
And Kim has been trying to leave him for years.
So long. And what we'll do is, since I'm the bigger player, is usually we just book all the comp, like rooms and everything, on my card. But it allows her, like, she's going to be staying at Mandalay Bay for 2 nights, and it's only costing her resort fees. So she got that comped even on her kind of lower level, quarter video poker type play. And we'll always use her comp balance first. If she's like, oh, I'm up to $20 or $30 or whatever on her comp balance, then one of the times we get breakfast, we're just like, well, let's just use your points right now, and kind of always keep that at the minimum. So I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but that's what we do.
In worst case scenario, you just go back to putting all your play on her card, and it was just a brief foray into having your own card, and maybe you got a big offer and you burned them on it, and you go, you're not really risking much by taking out a card in your name and giving it a try and seeing what offers you get and seeing what happens to hers. So,
Thank you, Terry.
Question from Danny from Nashville, and we actually heard from him in hour 1, where he had the information working in the publicus working in the coffee industry. I said, how do you guys approach bankroll management for an individual session of video poker? For example, I play double bonus, and I'm typically not willing to lose more than the lowest 4 of a kind pays out. Oh, that's interesting. So I'm playing $1 denom at $5 a hand, and I'm going to stop if I'm down $250. Do any of you have a management strategy? It seems like just play until you run out of money.
You play until, I am always wary of strategies like this because I do think it's good money management, but oftentimes you hear about stuff like this in what people often call the magical casino door fallacy, where you say, I'm going to play until we hit some sort of stop loss or stop win. That session is over, and I'm going to walk out the door. But then it's like, well, what do you do from there? If what you do from there is walk back in the door and start a new session at a new game, you didn't really do anything. And so if for a trip you play video poker until you're down 250 and then you're done gambling for the trip, that's like a reasonable way to do it. But I think what's missing kind of from this question is, what do you do when the session is over? Do you have a mandatory hour break or something like that makes it so that there is a meaningful stop point here? Or because if it was me, if it was me and I was told I had to follow this rule, the rule would just be me moving one machine over every $250, and then that would be the end of the system, right? And so
you're going to play craps.
Yeah. So I do just kind of wonder. No, my main money management strategy is that if I'm losing, I tend to like play shorter sessions and gamble a bit less. But if I was winning like I was on this trip, or I'm not down that much, then I just go full tilt and keep gambling.
Well, then do you have a daily budget then that you're going with then? Because that kind of seems like that's the next logical step, right? So if you don't have a session budget, you must have a daily budget. If you don't have a daily budget, then you're going to be in trouble.
Well, for me, it's more like a trip budget, but with an eye on the day, like I said, where if things are going poorly, that you can tell the trip budget would be strained at the end of the trip if you keep going, then maybe you go do something else kind of thing.
I've been doing a much better job of, if I start going down and then go back up and start winning, that I'll put okay, if I get down back to even, then I'm going to at least cash out and like do a lap, or go grab food, or get a snack, or, maybe I'll go and see if there's a good slot machine that I want to play at 88 cents and just kind of, dick around for a couple $100 just to kind of get away from this huge variance, high betting video poker. But that only works if you actually get back to even. My downfall is if, I put $1,000 in and it's, I get down to 800 and then 600 and then 400, and then I'm just there until I'm like, well, I'm either getting back to even or I'm losing this entire ticket. Like, there really isn't a middle point for me at that point.
Yeah, for me, as Jack kind of said, I have an eye on the day. I've got a daily budget that I'm kind of working with. It can be somewhat fluid, though. And then what's the relative impact of this session on the daily budget, knowing how much longer in the day I could potentially spend gambling. Like James said, I establish a new floor if I win big, which is kind of what happened at Bellagio on the last trip, where very unexpectedly I hit several good hands in a row and I was up triple what I bought in with. And so I kept establishing new floors. And it's like, okay, if I get down to this amount, then I'm going to leave because I'm going to guarantee a win and go to bed. And then that floor kept getting higher as I kept winning until I eventually hit that new threshold that I had set multiple times, which is great. That's a great problem to have. But yeah, I think it's different for everybody. But it's cool to have. I'm happy to see that some people do have a particular strategy when they're going in, because it's certainly better than nothing, which unfortunately we've all seen at times. No one in our group, I think, I've ever seen really have an issue with it, but I've definitely seen people from across the casino going back to the ATM multiple times or getting multiple markers out and aren't particularly happy about it.
Yeah, I guess thinking about it, my strategy is more of a time management strategy, where I know at certain times I'm going to be doing certain things, even if I, like, quote unquote, don't want to. It's like, well, this is going to be an hour-long session, and then I'm going to go take a walk for 2 hours or something like that, right, in the mornings to prevent myself from playing all morning. Or I know I have a reservation here. Or even when I sit down at Resorts World, it's like, hey, well, we don't have anything planned, but we are going to leave by like 6 or 6:30 so that we can go get dinner or something like that. And so I generally try to have more time-based budgets, and then I just play until the time's up, and then I have to go do something else. But that's my way of, even just like setting an early bedtime is a way to make sure you don't just like stay up gambling more than you meant to, right? So
yeah.
Thank you, Danny. Todd Goddess wrote in, curious what you think the most common mistakes are that video poker players make. You've already mentioned not holding a small pair, which is probably pretty common amongst newbies. I'm a pretty serious VP player, and I almost never make this mistake. I've caught myself a few times after the fact, but it's very rare. Here's the one I think I make the most often. I'm dealt 2 pair, 1 high pair, and 1 low. I hear the chime go off. I know I've got a paying hand. I see the high pair and immediately keep those 2 and hit the deal/draw button and realize the mistake after it's already too late. If I'm playing double bonus, it's not a massive error since 2 pair pays the same as jacks or better. But if I'm playing jacks or better or bonus, then it's an ouch moment. So what errors do we notice in ourselves or others? I do notice a lot for myself. If I'm going too fast, I will sometimes only hold like the ace or the king if it's one of the first like 2 or 3 cards up. And like if a jack's the 5th card, in my mind, I'm already being like, ooh, I got to hold that king. And then I miss the other high card at the end. And when I say a lot, I mean just like, a couple times a session, I'll hit it and be like, oh man, I should have also held that jack. I see that error a decent amount for myself.
For me, I'm so bad. I think maybe it was Donald Rumsfeld who said something like the unknowns,
yeah.
where I just don't know the strategies well enough that I don't know I'm making the mistake. And I say that partially seriously, but I think, James, you're right on, where for me, it's just I'm not concentrating enough. I'm going a little bit too fast, or a button sticks and I didn't hit the button, hard enough or as well as I should have. And I just move right to the draw. And so I'm not making sure that I actually did hold what I meant to hold, even when I do know the right play. I think that's my most common mistake. But I'm so bad that I don't know in terms of strategy mistakes, whether or not I'm making them, unless Jack is sitting next to me.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, the idea of, and I was going to say the difference between an error and a mistake, and then I realized I wouldn't know which one I was trying to say was one and was the other. But I think in general, I would think of a mistake as something where you actively meant to do one thing, or you knew better, but you didn't notice, or something like that. Is kind of different than just not knowing better and making the wrong hold, thinking it's the right hold. And if someone asked you about it, you would have still thought it was the right hold. Because he says, what are the most common mistakes that video poker players make? I think the biggest strategic blunder that I often see is trying to go for 2 hands at once, where it's like, they're holding a pair of 4s, but then they also see a high card and think they should hold the high card. And what I point out is that if you're holding the pair of 4s, you can't make jacks or better with the queens. The worst hand you can make is 2 pair by hitting another queen. And so the fact that it's a queen doesn't matter anymore, because the worst hand you could make with it is 2 pair or something like that, right? And so I think oftentimes people try to like split the difference. Like, you don't see it very often where someone tries to like go for a flush while holding a pair, because I think they see why that probably wouldn't work. But sometimes they don't, right? And they're trying to do multiple things at once. But as for myself, I don't know. I make errors all the time, and oftentimes I notice them right away, and that makes me realize that there's probably a bunch I make that I don't notice right away. But for me, the biggest errors I make are missing inside straight draws when you're already holding high cards. So at Ultimate X, you have to chase a lot of straights, because if you get a straight, you get awarded like an 8 times multiplier on the following hand. And so random things where like at an ordinary game, you might just hold a jack. At Ultimate X, you might have to hold jack 9, 8, 7. And you're kind of hoping for the 10, and the jack is more of the backup plan. And same with like ace 2, 3, 5 or stuff like that. You have to do those a lot, and I miss those quite a bit. And sometimes I notice, and sometimes I do not.
I feel like you point that out to me every time I'm playing next to you, and I forget every time.
It's tough, because inside straights are not only have we been told that they're not good to go for in video poker unless you have nothing else and no high cards and no hope, but also they're just like not very fun to go for because they never make anything. And so I can see like why they're a popular one to miss. But Nick writes in, he says, is it appropriate for a podcaster to steal a listener's drink at the high limit video poker bar at Palazzo and then allow Duffy to quote unquote pay for his next drink? I have no idea what this guy is talking about. I think we should just move on.
It sounds oddly specific.
Yeah, no, that's a really weird question, Nick.
Okay, I hear we're going to move on from that, Nick. Tilted Dunk, or is it DUNC?
Who knows?
It's all capitalized. I don't know. Tilted Dunk says, what's your favorite non-casino property restaurant in Las Vegas? One that's completely off casino property. A couple of my personal favorites are Golden Steer, classic old school Vegas history and vibe. It's become a staple during our annual guys trip. We actually get to dine in their private mob room, which made the experience even cooler. That's neat. And also the Italian-American Club restaurant. My wife and I went there for the first time during her birthday trip last August with a group of friends. From what I understand, it used to be a private members-only club before opening for reservations to the public. Another awesome old-school Vegas spot with a ton of history and character. Highly recommended the experience and the food. I've heard great things about both those places. My dad loves the Italian American Club restaurant.
Sounds like a sandwich I'd order. Can I get the Italian American Club on white?
That's right. Golden Steer, I mean, yeah, I'm worried about Golden Steer because it's been kind of like the influencer du jour restaurant right now. There's so many people recommending it that I feel like it's getting too popular again. Like I want to pull it back so it's easier to get back into.
We should double check if Dunk was paid to write this.
Oh yeah, we got to yeah. Send us
check.
Something. Yeah.
Send us something.
Send us something.
Send us a picture of you not getting paid.
That's right. Yeah. What about you guys? What do you think is your favorite non-casino restaurant? This is a good question.
I mean, a big one that's been popular for a long time is Lotus of Siam. They used to be up on Sahara. Now their main outpost is on Flamingo, kind of past Paradise Road. So it's a little ways east on Flamingo from the Strip. But they all now also have a location at Red Rock. So in some sense, they're a casino affiliated restaurant now, but they didn't used to be, and they were just really good Thai food. So I would be remiss if I didn't say that one. I really don't go to a lot of these. My absolute favorite I've been to that I'll try to get people out to at some point, but it's a little ways out there. It's probably somewhere between like the Durango Casino and the Red Rock Casino, if you're thinking that area of Vegas. It's called Other Mama, and it's like a sushi Japanese raw bar sort of place. Apparently they have some of like the freshest fish in Vegas, and they had really good cocktails. And it's just kind of like a strip mall, high-end sushi place. Everything in Vegas is in a strip mall, so maybe that's not worth saying. But I thought Other Mama was fantastic.
Yeah, I was going to say check out Chinatown and pretty much go anywhere because it's going to be compelling. Same with Arts District. I'm going to plug again a place where I went to on the F1 trip in the Arts District, which is Palette, we brought up Jaron in the first hour, I believe, but he's a good friend of mine. His cousin owns and operates Palette. Really good brunch space. It's got a pretty eccentric interior. Like it's not really, I walked in, I'm like, this isn't really for me, but it's cool because the food is fantastic and the service is great. Again, knowing that I'm now friendly with the owner, you should take that with a grain of salt. But they've got some good happy hours and really good cocktails. So, if you're looking to get out in the Arts District, especially for brunch, I think this would be a good brunch spot. Palette would be one that I would go to.
So you're disclosing your affiliations, unlike Dunk, who's just throwing Golden Steer.
Yeah, just Golden Steer. Yeah.
I said at the beginning of this year that one of my goals was to start doing more things like this, going to restaurants, learning more about the city as a whole. I have not done that yet, though. So I don't really think I can add much to this question.
I hadn't considered Arts District until Adam brought it up. In my head, that's still like, I was thinking like, where do I go? That's like in the city at large. Because like Esther's Kitchen.
Esther's Kitchen, I went with
there.
you. Yeah.
That Echo Taste and Sound I thought was fantastic. A lot of things. Letai is not attached to a casino in any way. So
I thought you were going to bring that up.
Yeah, I was kind of in my head when he said not casino property. I was like, okay, it can't be like downtown or on the Strip, but obviously it could be if it's like the Pepper Mill, for instance.
In and out.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, Olive Garden, I think.
Yeah, no, we'll just keep going.
Just keep going.
Outback. We can do it all day.
All day. This is a 2-hour episode. 2-hour second hour.
2 hour.
So I'm going out to Vegas, and this is how they get you. I've got food credit. I've got points on the MGM credit card. I've got my Palazzo points. So it becomes hey, do I want to eat quote unquote free at this wonderful restaurant here? Or do I want to go pay a couple $100 and an Uber and get away from my video poker machine and go elsewhere? And as someone who's not a foodie or not someone who's seeking those experiences out, it's really hard to get me to do that unless someone else is like, hey, let's go do this.
She doesn't like good food, doesn't listen to music. It's
I'm telling you, I'm a boring guy. lots, trust me.
Just give me a quesadilla and a video poker machine. Actually, that sounds too much like me.
I love a quesadilla and a video poker machine right now. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, but keep Mozart out of my ears, you bastards.
Oh, God.
Well, maybe we should make a decision that at least once a trip, you have to get out. And like I said, go to Chinatown, go to Arts District, or just go to some non-casino. Like even if it's for lunch and it's an inexpensive
Tacos El Gordo. My God, there's so many of them.
Right.
Speaking of, I do have an upcoming Vegas trip.
Yeah, you'll be there just before I am.
Just before, the week before you are. So maybe if I'm doing really well, I'll just stick through a couple of weeks. I've done it before. I'm going out for a conference. It's called C-Tree, the Conference on Teaching and Research of Economics Education. This conference is at Rio, so I will be there at least during the day on that Thursday and Friday. So I'm going to check.
Say
a few
hi to
things
Mr.
out.
Rosenthal for me.
Mm-hmm.
I will say hi. if he's still
You have
there.
like an 80% chance of seeing there.
That is true. I'll be staying at Venetian Palazzo, but we also, my co-presenter Michael will have a room at Rio, so I will at least check out those rooms and have a report back of how either awful or amazing they are. I did stay for my 25th birthday. I stayed at the Rio way back in the day. So I am hoping to check out some new things. And now with some of the questions we got today about restaurants outside of the casino, maybe checking out
Carl's
some
Jr.
other, some. Oh my God, I love a big Carl. Just love it. So it'll be fun. I'm excited. If anyone ends up being out there, I'll make sure that I tweet where I am. We can hang out. I do promise not to drink your cocktail at the video poker bar like Jack. That's the only stuff I'm going to say about my trip, because it's I don't have anything planned yet. It's just been too busy with finals week and now our big improv festival that's going on. So I have not done any sort of planning besides knowing that I'm staying at Venetian Palazzo for 4 nights. I know listener of the pod, Dan, friend of the pod, Dan, is coming on out.
FOTP Dan.
He'll be there for that conference too. So it'll be a fun time.
Nice. Well, thanks everyone for all the questions. It was very nice to go into our planning doc and realize that, I don't have to make any additions for this hour. Not that I would have anyway, but I didn't I didn't have to feel bad about not putting anything in, is what I'm saying.
Exactly. And we'd like to extend a special thank you to even more people that signed up for Patreon in the last couple weeks. We've got we've decided we're going to thank them. But I mean, we're going back on our promise of not doing anything. So I'm just going to want to make sure we mention that. Yeah, you should mention this every time. In fact,
who do we got?
We've got. And last time I realized we had kind of gone back and forth last time about whether to say the full name as it appears on Patreon or do the first name, last initial. And if you go back and listen to the last episode, you'll realize that I just switched it halfway through completely willy-nilly. I'm just going to say exactly what I see on Patreon, which is what I have here. And so we've got Andrew H., That Guy, Dunk, Pete Rogers. Pete made our logo that you see in your podcast feed. So
thank you, Pete.
He is now,
and now he's paying us.
He's paying us
Perfect.
to see that logo every 2 weeks.
God, AI is taking over everything.
We've got what the?
No, just artists not getting paid. Anyway, keep going.
Oh, good. Yeah. He has to pay. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, Matt 1532, Pat G, Thomas Lang, and Travel Zork.
Nice. Thank
and
you
tell
so much.
them
That's
what
big
they
when you
get.
The Travel Zork in there.
Yeah, tell them what they get in our Patreon feed.
There's no Patreon feed, so you don't have to worry about that.
Nothing.
I didn't even make a post that was like, "Hey everyone, welcome. Thanks for checking out our feed."
Mm-hmm. Actually, you should make the opposite. You should make a post tell everyone, "Get out."
If you're seeing this, you made
this is a terrible choice.
Yeah, very good. No, again, the outpouring of support has been tremendous. We are at patreon.com/handy@theshandy. If you would like to come support what we're doing here, or just send us some feedback or questions, because we like that too. We have to do less work. Mm-hmm. Basically, it's going to get to the point where we get cut out entirely, where you just pay us and the questions come in and then the show writes itself, and we don't even have to be here for it at some point.
What a dream. That's been my podcasting career. That's all I've ever wanted.
That's actually probably true, though. So
I will say one thing before we get out of here is the title of last week that you put up that says James Hates Dragons. I was just so offended that you would out me like that. So offended.
Well, it's kind of a bummer that I spoiled the main crux of the show right there in the title. But I actually got that title from one Vegas Duffy who had listened to the preview, and he got to hear it before I posted it. And so it's so tough when you edit these things to come up with what was the funny moment that would make a good stinger for the title, because I'm not paying attention to any of that when I edit it. Mm-hmm. And so It's actually, I've told Duffy, like, hey, if you listen to the like little preview, because I have him just do like some quality control on it, like in case I flubbed anything in the edit that I didn't get to listen to. So basically, if he finds anything, if you ever see a clever title from here on
Duffy.
out, there's like, 25% chance it was him and 75% chance that I'm really clever.
Well, thanks everyone for the positive feedback on iTunes and other places you leave reviews. It makes us feel good. Helps with the algorithm, all that fun stuff as well.
Yeah. And we love the praise.
Anyways,
I'm sorry, Jack, are we boring you?
I'm bored, Jack, now. Anyways, that concludes our thank you segment, and that concludes hour 2. Woohoo! For Adam the Frog and Table James Games, I'm Boring Jack, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Please don't. I'm 41 years old. Like, I cannot keep up.